Flash games were the peak of internet gaming. From the turn of the 21st century to the mid-2010s, the gaming catalog was iconic. Happy Wheels, Club Penguin, Papa's Pizzeria, Raft Wars, Fireboy, and Water Girl. The list goes on. And the best thing? All that was needed was a stable internet connection and a web browser. No additional downloads, no long loading screens, no pay to win. Miniclip users peaked at 43 million and hundreds of games were being released per month. Flash games were clearly dominating the internet world, but with Steve Jobs revealing an open letter titled Thoughts on Flash, this was the beginning of the end for Flash. Shortly after, Apple announced it would not support Flash on any of their devices, leading to Flash shutting down entirely in 2020. However, there were some games converted to modern formats like HTML5. Unfortunately, many were simply too outdated to transition over, meaning those titles were essentially lost forever. Nevertheless, the full nostalgic experience will be provided here today. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the golden age of Flash gaming. The year was 1993, when the internet was still in its awkward phase and web pages were simple. That's when a product called Smart Sketch was published by Future Wave Software. Initially, it was a simple vector drawing application. But in 1995, one of the first browser games, Earth 2025, was released, and web applications started multiplying. The potential for interactive content became clear. This led to the launch of Flash Player in 1996. Later, it was acquired by Macromedia and was rebranded as Macromedia Flash 1.0. Originally, it wasn't a game development software at all, as it was intended for animations and web graphics. But then, in 1999, a kid named Tom Fulp created a game called Pico School in Macromedia Flash 3. He posted it on his site, Newground, and became a starting fire for the indie game scene on Flash. The introduction of a dedicated programming language for Flash made game development more accessible, and Newgrounds began hosting games from other developers. This became a place for passionate game designers who lacked big budgets or professional teams. The success of this model inspired similar platforms. In 2001, it was Miniclip, which was more polished as compared to the indie scene of Newgrounds. Then there was also Congregate, Friv, and countless other platforms. Soon, it became a billion-dollar industry. However, the success of Flash games wasn't just luck. Before Flash, installing a game often meant dealing with CDs or lengthy downloads, but Flash made it easier to play games directly from your browser. Most of these games were free, which was especially appealing at a time when console and PC games often came with high price tags. And most importantly, these were designed to be lightweight, meaning they could run on nearly any computer, even those with minimal hardware. Whether you were using a school computer, a library PC, or your family's old desktop, these games were accessible. All of these factors combined and made these games accessible to anyone with an internet connection no matter where they lived. This allowed people from all around the world to connect through gaming. It also meant that developers from various countries had a platform to showcase their creativity and reach a global audience. Flash was acquired by Adobe, and things seemed to be going good in the 2000s. Despite some underlying technical issues, Flash was widely used by companies and developers, until Steve Jobs' infamous Flash ban in 2010. At that time, Apple was riding high with the iPhone and iPad, and Steve Jobs was considered the visionary. So when he wrote an open letter titled Thoughts on Flash, there was a seismic shift. He raised multiple issues and summarized them in 6 points. Jobs criticized Flash for its frequent security vulnerabilities. Third point, he also criticized how Flash had a significant impact on battery consumption, which was a big concern for portable devices like iPhone and iPad. In short, he argued that Flash wasn't suitable for the mobile environment and announced that Apple devices wouldn't support it. Since so many people were accessing content on their phones and tablets, this move sidelined Flash games from a huge chunk of the market. Another blow to Flash came with the introduction of HTML5. It's basically a web standard that allows for interactive content without having to use plugins like Flash. Plus, it was more mobile friendly. So developers started to realize that HTML5 was a more future-proof option. Fast forward to December 2020, and Adobe officially pulled the plug on Flash Player. Adobe's decision wasn't a surprise to anyone who had been watching the trends. The company had already begun phasing out support and encouraging developers to transition to newer technologies. By the time Flash was officially retired, most of the web had already moved on. Websites that once featured Flash games were either converting to HTML5 or simply disappearing into the the folds of internet history. Even though it's gone, the impact of Flash games will remain forever. It gave a huge boost to indie gamer creators who owe a lot of the freedom and experimentation to Flash. These games were played billions of times by millions of real people who connected with each other and formed a community. Now, if you're feeling nostalgic for those old Flash games, you're not alone. Many people still have fond memories of playing those quirky, innovative games. There are people who still make efforts to keep these games on the internet. For example, Flash Museum and many other projects archive Flash games and allow you to play them again on your browser. Flash games were a defining part of early internet culture, shaping the way we think about online gaming and creativity. They remind us of a time when the internet was a wild, exciting place full of discovery. As we look back, let's not remember the games themselves, but also the sense of community and innovation they represented. The impact of Flash games on gaming culture is undeniable, and their legacy lives on in the games we play today, and the creativity they continue to inspire.